So it's not fixed, but the truck can be driven in the rain. And we now know how to get the window and regulator out of the truck, and it is way easier than an S10. All right, so that's the wife's first generation Colorado, which in my opinion is one of the last mini trucks GM ever made before they started fouling up the whole platform. But that's a conversation for another time. Might be an argument for another time, I don't know. In 2018, the Expedition we've got in the backyard started knocking real bad, and we found ourselves real quick in a position without a vehicle. Now, if you've ever lived in a rural area and found yourself without reliable transportation, that's not a comfortable situation. So we bought that 06 Colorado at a very fair price. Now, as far as I know, this vehicle was a one-owner vehicle, and that one owner was the proverbial 94-year-old little old lady. And like most vehicles owned by a 94-year-old lady, it had very low mileage. It was a 12-year-old vehicle in 2018, and it had 31,000 original miles on it. Now, the fact that that little old lady was also my grandmother means that that truck's got a little bit of sentimental value too. The truck has served us well over the past few years that we've owned it, until earlier this year when it hit about 91,000 miles and needed a replacement engine. So we had the engine replaced. Yesterday, my wife got to work, and it was going to be hot all day, so she went to roll the windows down, and this happened. Where have I seen this before? Ah, that's right. So let's see if we can fix this problem, and if we can't fix it without having to have additional parts, then we need to at least get the window up so the truck can be driven in the rain, which will then allow us some time to buy parts. Over those 12 years, this window sweep right here got very dried out, and instead of getting brittle, it got stiff. So anytime you tried to roll the window down, instead of sliding up against the window like it's supposed to, it tried to curl under like this. And eventually that led to this. So we won't really know what's going on inside that door until we get the door panel out. So I watched a YouTube video earlier, so obviously I'm totally qualified to do this. Let's see if this is as easy as they make it out to be. Starters, we got 2 screws here, 1 here. I will say that it'd probably be easier if I cleaned all this crap out of the truck, but that means I got to put it back in. And my wife works about 10 hours a day, makes all the running around to keep our 3 businesses up and running, and then somehow still finds a way to get everything done around the house and in the yard and everything else. So basically she lives in this truck. It's probably why it's got 94,000 miles on it right now. Alright, that felt like that broke, and it did. Try not to break that. Push that in there. There we go. I wasn't pushing that in far enough. There we go. Alright. Now, give this bad boy a yank. pulled out and then up. Pull out, then up. What you do, you have to reach right here and unplug the speaker while you hold this up. And it's another plug that is very difficult to, there we go. Press the clip. Try not to tear it. It's only 16 years old, so. Alright. Don't let that touch anything. Alright, that's in place. That's in place. Aha. I think what's happening here is it jammed the window so hard that it bent the regulator bracket. I'm pretty sure that's what happened. The window regulator bracket got bent. Now, I won't know that for a fact unless I look at it. Yeah, it's gotta be, because that's out of the, it's supposed to be flat, and it is nowhere near flat. That's bent. Well, as I understand it, you got 2 bolts here, 4 bolts here. That'll let your regulator come out after you unplug it right here. But you gotta let the window down far enough that you can unbolt the clips from the glass. Now in this case, I'm thinking because the regulator's bent so bad, and it's not broke, it's just bent, I'm thinking we're going to take the glass out, then take the regulator out, then try to straighten up the regulator. Because even if we just replace the regulator, you got to pull it out anyway, so we might as well pull it out, see what's going on, see if we can straighten it out, and move forward from there. So we got a plan, even if it ain't a good one. Of course, it's raining now, so you ain't gonna hear any of this. Unless something bad happens, we'll probably skip all this. By the way, I'm told that all these nuts are 10mm, and they are. It'd help if I could see what I'm doing. Gotta do it left-handed. Stay. Wonder if I need to have my phone on me just in case this goes totally wrong. That way I can call 911. Trying to twist this with my fingers. Alright, one nut released. No matter how that sounded. They said snug but not overly tight, but that seemed like it was overly tight to me. Now, due to the fact that the window's poking inside, not outside, I'm not sure that it's going to come out exactly the same way that you would expect it to. two bolts released. And one glass removed. Pushing down on the clip with a screwdriver, apparently. Or you can just lose your screwdriver. I hate rain with a passion. Now apparently this one don't have to be removed all the way. Pull this out, pull that up, it'll fit right through there. But you would normally let your window down further. But because ours is bent, we couldn't let it down. So it's still going to be a pain in the butt to get out of the door. Not to mention, oh yeah, it's bent. Got that bent a little bit. See right there? Let's get this out. Get it over to the table. Let's see if we can't straighten it up. Now, I don't know how well you can see it, but all of these bars are supposed to be flat. And this one's good and mangled here and here. This one's bent pretty good. That one is slightly bent. So we're going to try to straighten all this out. Yay! Come on. Well, that ain't it. Just get it sort of in place. Then we'll try to get it where it needs to be. That's going to be the booger right there. Now ask me why we're doing this instead of replacing it. Well, I'm glad you asked. It turns out that I tend to be a little bit cheap, and more often than not, a little bit broke too. But most importantly, I ain't got one of these things in my back pocket. Don't want to do this. Hey, that wasn't too horrible. Now we gotta flatten the curve right here. right. Well, it's a lot flatter than it was. Now let's find out if it's flat enough to do the job. I did remember to put that on, but I had to go back and watch a video and make sure as to which end it went in. I assume it probably doesn't matter, but it's not worth taking that chance. There we go. Had to put it back where it was. Those were in the glass. Always remember what came from where. I'm not a good example of this. But I took those two out first. I want to say those came from the glass. Snug, not overly tight. Before we hook that glass up, we need to make sure this goes up and down so we don't break the glass. Worst case scenario, we're going to try to put it in an upright position and then bolt the glass in if we have to. We just want the window up. Eventually, we're going to have to replace this regulator as well as the window sweep and probably this panel due to the fact that I broke the tab that goes on this end. But for now, we just need to get the window up so this truck can be driven in the rain. Because look at that, it's raining. All right. Not that I'm a daggum expert, but normally when you take the glass out of the door in this truck, you try to have it right here. That way you've got this bolt hole that's accessible by virtue of this big hole, and then you got the other hole that is accessible here. So that makes it easier to put everything back together, or at least that's what YouTube told me. Now I would like to point out that the glass in the 06 Colorado does not have a hole on the side where a clip would go into like the Chevy S10 does. Front side of the glass down first. Back side in. Make sure you get the front side in the channel. And feed the back side into the, I missed it. And feed the back side into the channel. There we go. Bring it down. So that it rests right there on that rail. stay. And I can't reach that. Alright, here's something I learned from a maintenance department at a job I once had. I got a socket with a nut. Nut falls out of the socket every time. This works better with brown paper towels, but take a paper towel, lay it across your socket, insert your nut into it. This one I had to double it up because these are cheap paper towels. Then the bolt or the nut or whatever it is should stay in your socket while you get it started. And it did. So now we want this snug, not tight. Well, overly snug but not stripped. But then that's what you always wanted. Hey, look at that, the rain stopped right about the time I sat down in the water. Alright, that's good. Now, let's check it with the glass. I know. It's not. Nope. Nope, nope, nope. Now, it's not quite straight enough that we can use it, obviously, but at this moment, it is straight enough. Let's see, we need to keep that plugged in because of the door lock mechanism. Well, once we put the door panel on, but we're going to unplug the motor because the window's up. Now there's no chance of somebody accidentally putting the window down. And then when we get a new regulator and a window sweep and a panel on the door, we can repair this properly. But you've already seen all this, so there ain't no point in showing you that. That went through there. I don't want you to let go. Alright. First thing we need to do is line up our... Come on! You know what? Let's just put that back where it was. It ain't exactly right because I stretched the plastic, which is gonna happen every time you do this type thing. No point in cutting our window sweep. We do want to plug the speakers in. Putting these door panels on is always easier when the window is down. Looks good. Why does it take longer to put them back in than it does to take them out? I guess that would probably explain why I normally have all kind of leftover screws that never went back in. Of course, now if it still works and you got screws left over, then obviously they weren't needed. Alright, window does nothing, door locks work. Mission accomplished. Sorta. Now, just so you know, there's 2 holes in the front of the bed of the '06 Colorado. So if you park the truck half in, half out the garage, you're gonna get some puddle on the floor.